A trip to La Palma. I want to make this as interactive as possible. So some of you have heard about people going to La Palma. Maybe you've been to La Palma. I've been there only once so far. So maybe I should not be in the stage presenting, but again, I would see this as a collaboration opportunity to discuss this. So I've put a lot of photos, so there will be a lot of slides, but most of the slides in this part will be photos. Photos, etc. But those photos are not a professional photos, so I don't have a camera, and I don't have an astro camera as well. I just have only a smartphone. So all the photos are taken on the smartphone, but with some explanations, but then it's not the purpose to show up some of the nice astro photos, it's just a purpose to talk about La Palma and some stories about that. So, and all the slides will be about La Palma, some impressions, photos, etc. And also I will try to answer the question, how did the trip go for me? Was it good? Was it not good? Okay. So this is the picture, the drawing of La Palma, and we will use it in the future as well. So, and you know, La Palma is a volcanic island. So here is the caldera, as you can see here. This is where there was a volcano originally, and I will explain it later. But this is the prevailing wind, which is blowing maybe most of the time. This is a trade wind. North is up, classical map. East is on the right. So the wind blowing from northeast. And I went to the island, and I spent, I think, around 8 nights on the island. And I lived in here, in this part. So I don't live on the coast, because there's no need for astronomy, no. And it's impossible to live very high in caldera, because there's nothing. The highest telescopes are here, but it's not possible to live there. So I lived somewhere in between. I will show you that later. Okay? It has some benefits, has some issues. We will come back to this later. Okay. So, but maybe before taking practical things, maybe some of you know, maybe not. I want to explain when it all started with La Palma. So, but in the presentation, I will try to answer the question whenever I will present. Is it a dream astronomy destination? For me, for many years I was thinking what would be the dream astronomy place or location. Maybe it's for you as well. But when I think about this, maybe you recognize this, I'm thinking about 3 things. So the first thing is a clear sky. And that's actually obvious. So you need stars, you need planets, etc. So you don't need clouds. Very obvious. No need to explain. The second one is dark sky, no light pollution. So many of you fighting for that in your cities, like you're doing constantly, and the sea as well. The sea might not be all of the people who do just a very large-scale nebulous, etc. But for planets, for some small galaxies, this is very, very useful. And how did it go? Just a snapshot before we go into details. So, as a summary, it wasn't clear, to be honest. Maybe not 100%, maybe not like a really fine, but I would give it 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It was not bad. Quite dark, but the sea is really, really concerning. And this is what we are going to discover today. Why out of 3, the last was extremely bad. So that is very interesting for me, because I hope that it will be dream destination, but now I'm slightly doubting. Is it or not? So let's find out. But before doing that, let's move back in time. So La Palma is a very, very young island. It's been formed about 2 million years ago, even less. Here's the scale of millions years ago, the formation of islands. And this is the north to actually, so north is actually there, south is there. Africa is here, Europe is there, South America is there. So what happened is that, as you see, well-known Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Fuerteventura, those are old islands formed around 20 million years ago, and these are the new ones. And actually, this one, the elevation here is quite low, but this is quite high. Also, this is very volcanic active islands, because as you know, in La Palma there was eruption last year. And many houses were destroyed, actually, and some telescopes were destroyed as well. Now, why this is here? So, just to explain it, it's there are two types how volcanoes could form. There is a ring of fire, the famous ring of fire, which goes in, let's say, in west coast of America, Chile, also the south coast, then all over the Pacific Ocean. The north, then all these Asian countries, so this is ring of fire. And this is where the tectonic plates are kind of collapsing. This is one of the reasons why there is very, very huge volcanic activity. But there is another reason. Imagine that in the core of the Earth there is a hot spot, we call it. And hot spot is really when magma is going up. And that could be in the middle of the plate. Like here, this is the middle of the plate. There is no like any, so this is the African tectonic plate. What happens is that the hot spot stays in the same place. The tectonic plate is moving. So this is African tectonic plate, is moving from South Africa to, like they're expanding. So Atlantic Ocean, like this, a few centimeters a year. So this is hot spot, this is the plate. The plate is moving, so what is happening is this, the plate is moving from west to east like this, and that takes 20 million years. This is what you see, this is a plate, it's moving to this direction, because Africa is moving away from South America, so they're expanding, the plate is moving, it's moving very slow. These islands were above the hot spot here 20 million years ago. That actually means that in 2, 3, 4 million years, there will be new islands here. Because the hot spot is sitting, but all these structures move. It's not the first place and only place on the Earth where this happens. This is type of the volcanic activity and the islands formation. Also, as you know, it's only above the, above the sea level, below the sea level, it's also. Another example is Hawaii. Same story. And if you look on the map of Canary Islands and also look at Hawaii, they all in line. Hawaii is also very, very straight line. Same story. And there's a few examples on the Earth where this is also happens. Sometimes it also happens inside the, inside the plates on the continents, like Eiffel in Germany. There's also some volcanic activity underneath, but it's not in the sea, it's on the plate actually. But Eiffel here, very close, same story.
So these plates, tectonic plates, move in two directions. They move in that direction and they move this direction because we have a power. If the hot spot stays on the same place, but you see La Gomera and Gran Canaria is a bit lower.
Yeah.
So they move in two directions.
Probably, but also that's a good question because my wife asked me exactly the same question. She asked, why El Hierro is here and La Palma is here? Well, it's not like an exact straight line. Maybe what I'm thinking if there is a hot spot and it can go into a few directions. So that's the reason, because the lava should go somewhere and find a place to exit. So it's not a perfect line.
So in the other islands, there can be never be an eruption. Because hotspot is...
Yeah, it's moved away, exactly. This is the slipping, they are already slipping. And they're degrading, they are really moving down and they're degrading. So, and there will be, so, and La Palma is growing. Last year, a new land was formed in La Palma because of that. So, to illustrate it in video, this is what happens. 20 million years ago, oops, sorry. Okay, let's play the video. Does it play? Let me try again. No. No, nothing's happening. It should be a video here, but I don't know why it is not playing it.
Do you have it separate?
Okay. Maybe it's strange. Let me try if it's related to the internet or not. I'm not sure because it's typically a download video. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, here. I just show you that on the desktop. So, you see? Oh, you don't see it. Strange. Why it's not projecting? Give me a second. Okay, so let's see here. So, let's see what it works. Yeah, it works. So you see, when Ventura, we're moving forward in time. This is how the hotspot stays the same. The plate is moving.
But then I wonder why does it always have islands?
Individual islands instead of one long line.
Yeah. Because you have now the dipshit water between islands. Why doesn't that hotspot create not? So sometimes the hotspot sinks, maybe.
Or it's not active. Or
No, I think the power is not enough to just make a hole in the tectonic plate.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's just it's like a hot spring or hazel. It's really hazel. Yeah. I think that's the reason.
It's like a pimple. When it comes out, there's no left, no pure left anymore. A pimple. Past. Ja.
We gaan naar Tenerife.
We zijn bij de dermatologie. Dat is de volgende spreker. Ja.
Okay.
Dat de pimpel door.
Oh, look at this. It now works, I think. Yeah, it started to work. Okay, no one. Okay,
cut it in the movie.
so because of that, this is the photos. So, and you see the elevation is very high. It's going for 2,400 meters. So, and this is a new. It's very new. It's less than 2 million years old. So they are very sharp. And actually, this view to the highest peaks in Caldera, and this is view back. So I'm standing somewhere there and picturing this. So this is the one of the highest peaks, and I'm looking to the coast, and then horizon I could see another island here, which is not very visible, but these are two spots. This is the impression. Okay. Another impression is that I mentioned is that the volcanic activity is still happening today. So what you see here is this one. This eruption was earlier, no, like half a year ago in October, so this one. And you could see here the fuels are still, it's a hot still, and it's still gases are escaping this. Now, this was really bad because it was predicted by the seismic activity, and if you see here, there's a houses here, and a lot of people lost their houses because this part of the village, and then there was another part of the village here. It was just eruption here, so all of our went here, and it's approaching the sea. So the sea is here, or the ocean, better to say. And because of that, the new land was formed. And because of that, there was a huge light pollution because this area was like really light, and ashes were everywhere. So, and the Palma telescope stopped operating for quite some time because of the ashes. The minerals will be destroyed. Some people, I know, I read the stories, some people, because they lost business here in the village, they moved to other islands. And some people lost their homes. There were also at least one observatory with a very good telescopes there, which were used for the planetary image. And even, I think Damian Beach was using that one. This is what I heard. But it's also destroyed by that. It was like 20 or 30 or even more large minerals, or even half a meter. I don't remember details, but I know that the sort of observatory was destroyed. It's not a professional astronomy observatory, but it's a major astronomy because professional observatories they are on the summit, but this is in the village.
So the domes and the housings for professional astronomy telescopes, they have special conditions to keep these dust and gases out when there's an eruption?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure about that because also what I know is that in the island, if I remember, there were few stops which are potentially active, and this is one of them. So if the future eruptions will be, it will be somewhere in this area. And this area is not where the telescopes are. So the telescopes are on the other side. But because there are a lot of ashes, it can reach everywhere.
I think create overpressure.
Yeah, Wim told us something about that last time. And what I remember is they close it up as a regular, but the mirrors are covered with the system, but also the ventilation is shut down and that kind of stuff. So they really try to keep everything out as much as possible for
Like sort of NBC system.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Overpressure, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it would be a good idea.
It will be expensive. But okay. So, the weather. Like this and like this. You never know. And this is really bad, because this situation, this is inside the cloud. It can happen at night, immediately. When you have your equipment outside, you have a cloud forming, and then you have this criteria. And quite bad, because everything gets wet immediately. The night view, I lived, so these are the previous pictures, and these pictures are from my location where I lived. I lived on the elevation of 1,400 meters.
That's what a smartphone. It's a good smartphone.
Yeah, it's a smartphone. Most of the time, I found myself above the clouds. Like here you see clouds and clouds. If you go down to the village, you won't have a blue sky because you will have clouds. But here I'm lucky, I'm above the clouds. But imagine that if clouds will be slightly higher, then I will be inside the cloud. I will talk later exactly on the place where I lived, but this is the impression of the sky. Okay?
What was the bright, was it Venus?
No, unfortunately, this is a smartphone. This is it should be a moon. Huh?
Moon, yeah.
So, Orion, Taurus, Mercury. I think this is a Mercury.
That light dome, is that a city or? at the horizon. Is that light pollution?
No, it's a smartphone. No. This is ocean.
Sunset.
All this ocean. So this is a sunset. And actually, if you see here, all this part. So all this part is ocean. There is nothing there. So the island ends here, and this is the land. It's all ocean. Okay. Let us talk about clouds and meteorology. So, I will explain it here. So, as you know, what happens is that there's equator here. The equator hits the air, and actually over Azores. So this is Azores Islands in Portugal. It's a well-known Azores High. It's an area of high pressure, exactly. And so there are, as you know, there are areas of high pressure, areas of low pressure. So in the area of high pressure, air moves down, and specifically in the northern atmosphere, the prevailing wind goes round, and actually it goes this thing. So when I switch Canary Islands here, it goes from the northeast. So this is Azores, this is Canary Island, this is La Palma, if you remember, this is this line, and this is Madeira. This is Portugal and Spain. So this actually this is anticyclone. It's typically most of the time is there. 90% of the time I would have maybe less, but it's very constant in this case. So that actually creates this wind which goes here. And what happens is that the air is going a lot of time over the ocean. So, and that creates a fantastic constant wind, which is similar to Hawaii. That's why on the high places here there's a very good sea. So that's why one of the reasons why Hawaii and Palma is chosen for that, because a constant wind blowing over the ocean. So the next one is same but explanation what happens. So if you remember, the wind goes from here, but what happens with the wind? The wind carries the wet over the ocean of the 1,000 kilometers, and then if it's approached the island, if you remember, this is 0, this is 2,300. So the clouds formed very quickly. That's why here is almost always clouds. It's a constant clouds range here, as well as here as well, sometimes even here. But the summit is typically open, and if you see small white spots, this is where a lot of telescopes are placed, including Leuven telescopes, etc. And this picture is taken in October when there was an eruption here. So this is a lava. So this elevation here is 2,400. Typically, most of the places where amateur astronomers go, they live somewhere here. Why? Because it's a slight protection from the wind, and also it's far away from the cities, so it's less light polluted here. This is a lot of people living here, and a lot of population. And the reason is very simple. In this part of the island, it's the sunniest part. As you can see here, always sun is shining, because island with its high elevation protects this part, so you have a nice beach weather here and warm. While here it's very windy and cold most of the time. But what also happens is that because of this wind, you could see wind sometimes go in the other direction in this part of the island. But that is actually from the wind perspective and from the clouds perspective. So that's why they put the telescopes here as the most clear part. So we say, okay, I go to La Palma, and if I will live here, you will be disappointed, because you will live here for 10 days, you will have clouds 10 days. So that's a very important aspect in these islands to keep an eye exactly where you live and what is your location.
How long is the island? What are the distance?
It's a three. So it's this part here, 3 kilometers.
Okay.
So I would say it's 50 maybe, roughly 50, 60 kilometers. However, the trips on the La Palma is very, very long because very narrow roads going up and down, serpentines on the coast. So by car from airport, so airport is here. By car from going to here, maybe up to 2 hours. So quite long.
So most of the time they have winter from the north.
Northeast, yes, most of the time. It also depends on the season, but most of the time.
Dus daarom nog een vraag die op vakantie moet gaan.
So, as I mentioned, I was lucky to find the house. So this is the summit, right? So this is the caldera. So the elevation goes up, as you can see, and this is a huge difference in elevation. So this is really 1,000 meters. So 1,000 meters difference. And the telescope was just on the caldera. And here is the village. And I live between the village and the caldera. So the village is at 700 elevation. I lived on the 1,400. But there is an observational spot, which is like some people very prefer, which is on 2,000 meters, which is very, very close to caldera and to this telescope. This spot is 2,100 meters. And there is a road from this place to there. I'll show that later. But the place where I live, it looks like this. So this is the village. This is the village. This is 700 meters. You could not see it because of the relief. You could not see further, but this is the ocean. This is the house which I rented, and this is the vineyards. And this is one elevation 1,400. Okay.
You were there alone or with your family?
No, I went alone. Yeah, because I was not sure how the conditions are, because this is quite a remote place, you see. Nothing exists here. Yeah.
We lived on chips and beer.
Vodka.
Yeah, was better than expected, to be honest. I was thinking it would be very, very. Okay, so this now we're looking a little bit closer to this place, and you see that. So observation-wise, these are all the telescopes. It's an incredible number of telescopes. All these whites, this is either telescopes or facilities for the astronomers to live. And the Leuven University, they have the Mercator here, and they're building the new 4 telescopes which will combine light to study the exoplanets and the spectrography. They're also building it here. The famous spots among the hobbyist astronomers is here. So it is not allowed to stay overnight here typically, because they close the road to go to the observatories, because there is a public road, but from public road it goes here, they close it at night, but then the people are placing somewhere here. So this is a public road, and this public road continues here, but you can literally go very close to the caldera and find a spot here to observe. This is one spot. There's also one spot which is along the road here, but also this is one spot that I mentioned. If you see, there's a unique road which leads up to the high here. There's a water tank here at elevation 2,100. Many people go there and spend the night there. Here. This is not a road. It's not. It's like it's a stone. So this is the road. Okay, enough on this one. I will show you this place, so you will get a feeling. So there will be one picture taken from here just to see the spot. Another one is showing this direction. So this is what I'm talking about. This is how it looks like. We are on elevation 2,000. So somewhere ocean, water tank, there's a large spot here, and this is the test. And they are a little bit high, so what we are almost at the sun. Okay. And also the clouds are constantly, like this is the west part, but the clouds are constantly forming, and that's why I captured the video there, just to show you how it looks like. So this is a time lapse, and you see how the clouds are constantly coming from the northeast. But they disappear once they approach the west. This is a typical picture which can be observed every day. I'm now on elevation about 1,600. This is a typical view. And also
you can make time lapse with your smartphone.
Yeah. And this is another time lapse which I captured at the house. It's a sunset. Then you will see the clouds are growing. The moon is setting up also. And the darkness is approaching. And you see the clouds are really, really fluctuating, the boiling. Okay. Yeah. Huawei. It's a Moto 20. So then light pollution. This is my favorite map actually. So to be honest, this is a map which my wife sees the most of the time, because every winter when we're thinking where to go for summer, I show her this map. And this drives the destinations because we like nature, we like astronomy. It's my table map, I would say.
Oh, I was thinking that you were explaining to her that the white spots is where the best shopping is.
That's a good idea.
I didn't buy a boat yet. So your wife also does astronomy?
No. She likes nature, and typically it's there is a correlation between the dark sky and the nature. To a certain extent, not always. But yeah, you know this map. So it's a pity, because from our place the nearest, you see the greatest near the horizon. So this is based on the article published on science.org. So in Spain there are places nearest to us. There is in Spain, there are places. It's actually taken from the Paris. So where is the closest one to the Paris? That it will be in Spain. And the sky is still the greatest near the horizon there. So, like nearest, close to Spain, it's typically, they rate it as a degraded to the zenith. So actually, the sky is. A few years ago, we went, so this is the south coast of Spain, we went here. There was a couple of blue spots. The sky was very good there. To be honest, fantastic sky. And this was here. We also tried Crete, on the south side, not bad, but difficult. Corsica, yeah, very good actually, to be honest. Very good, but not maybe perfect. So out of the Crete, Crete, Corsica, and Spain was the best, to be honest. Yeah, but I lived in Moscow, and this is a huge challenge to go here. But also, the weather is bad, huh? Cloudy, fog, etc. So, not good. Yeah, but you see, you need to go this is a 500, 600 kilometers. So, it's at least day trip, if not more, by car, maybe even more. So I sometimes went here, which already 4 or 5 hours drive. So this is very, very, very far away. But still, it's a great area here. So. Also, as you notice, this part, which is surprising, so this is England, Scotland. This is the flares from the what's it called? Wells, offshore wells, oil or gas production, flares. Okay, so how was it in La Palma? This is light pollution atlas. This is the satellite image. The telescopes are located here, so it's not bad actually. You see that there are a lot of people in here. This is the port. This is airport. A lot of people here, but the northwest, particularly the best place because of elevation and light pollution. That's here. But you could see this village, which is not on the coast but in between. That is the source of light pollution there, and you will see that later. Because I lived here, but I saw this light pollution. So, but this is taken from the house, just on a smartphone. I like the sky, the Milky Way, to see things. Village is also visible. This also proves the point that you have a light pollution. So, slight light pollution here. Oh yeah, that's maybe better. Yeah, thank you.
Taken by hand, in the hand, picture?
No, still. Just, I put smartphone on something which is not moving. How was it here? Ah, yeah, this is a good one. If you see here, this is a vertical light. And I must say that it's very prominent. You could see it almost every evening. But the elevation depends on it. Was sometimes 20-30 degrees only, and sometimes 50. So it really depends on the transparency, but it never goes further. So no like 60-70 degrees low. Typically 30-40. So right. This is Mercury, and this is Pleiades. There was a time when Mercury was near the Pleiades. This is Towers on the Aldebaran. Okay. But village, even from this elevation. It's typically when it's clouds, you can see it more prominent. Also these two. But when it's a clouds, kind of clouds, you could see the zodiacal light is very, very prominent on the clouds.
The clouds are actually dark, which is rising.
But there's an ocean there. It's like after the village ocean, and this is high level clouds. They're far, far away over the ocean. And this is Sirius. Oh, this is the Capella. Capella. Yeah. Okay. So what's next? Yeah, that is actually the order of my favorites. What I saw. Omega Centaurus for the first time. To be honest, that is maybe the top. So I didn't expect it's so large and so many stars. So that was really kind of something that is really impressive. So it's so different from M13 that we used to have in the northern. So it's very, very different. And you could see it with your naked eye as the star, actually. And if you look on, okay, what is this strange star? And actually, Omega Centaurus is well known in the very, very prehistorical ages as the star, actually. So that's why it has its own name, but it's actually a global cluster, right? So top one, number one. That is very impressive because I didn't expect much from it. This is the Centaurus star as a very active radio source, galaxy radio. The declination is minus 43 degrees, but you could see it still. I could see the dark lane, actually, dividing the galaxy into two parts, which is quite surprising because I do remember from my childhood that is one of the first images that I saw in my childhood. 5 satellites of Saturn was very nice to see, unexpected. Supernova, you know this, is about 12 magnitude, comparable. It's in Virgo, was active in April, May. Venus, Jupiter, as you see in the picture, and Mercury close to Pluto. So this is like a top list that I liked during these days. Let's maybe close the subject with the sea, the last point. So you see that it's quite dark. The weather was kind of okay. Let's explore the sea. The sea is an interesting story because what happens is the trade winds is growing, but it's also the inversion layer, which also moves from different, let's say, elevations, depending on the season. And this is the Tenerife example. This is not Palma, but the idea is the same. There are two layers of air which is not connected. And the reason for that is the inversion layer. What is inversion layer, as you know? This is typically the temperature should decrease with elevation. The higher you go, the cooler. But inversion layer is the reverse. The higher you go, the temperature is increasing. And then, so this is a very surprising, but there is an explanation why this is forming. Because of the, remember this anticyclone, the Azores high? The air pushed from the high to the bottom, so the air condensed, thus the temperature increases. So, and that just happens typically on these elevations. So it can create a turbulence, and here actually, so my assumption is that I was observing, at that time of the year, it was May, I was observing in this layer, which made it very bad actually. I checked a lot of sources for that. For instance, Daniel Peach, he explained this with this picture, that one of the reasons is that there is air flowing from the ocean, but then it's getting curved and there's a turbulence. And I was observing not on this part of the island, but on this part of the island. So that maybe explains why the sea was bad, actually, quite bad. All the nights, to be honest. I was surprised. Why so?
Is it worse than what you see typically here?
Yes. I must say yes. And I found only this explanation. Now, I must admit that I never went, actually, where is my picture here of the island? Let me show you that in a second. So, yes, here. So, I never went to observe here. Because I lived here, and here is not far away, right? Look at the map. It's like maybe 10 kilometers direct line, but it's 65 minutes by car during daytime. 65 minutes. I have to go here and then over here. I mean, to be honest, it was difficult at night, so I didn't manage that. I think it would be absolutely different experience here in terms of the scene. Maybe here, but I'm not sure because of the wind. But when I checked, so I will check the metro stations here. It looks like they got a good scene, but I was not getting a good scene. So I see that this is the reason. So my dream, eventually, will go here and check the scene. So how is it? But it was, yeah, in Belgium it was, yeah. So let's move back. Sorry for that. Yeah. So maybe let's finish with some really practical things. Top sonar, 10-inch top sonar, collapsed in this area. So how I managed this? I took all this box, which is comparable size this. This is the magazines, just for comparison. I put it in just a classical cardboard box with some papers around it, and I put in the suitcase. So I didn't move this, and I didn't remove the mirror. I took it all into the suitcase, and this suitcase went to the checked-in baggage. The suitcase was 25 kilos because I put also the binoculars there, the eyepieces there, It was risky to put everything. Some books also, so it was 25 kilos, the suitcase, but it arrived safe and sound, both directions. So, but so my carbon box was slightly larger. I didn't take a picture because I just threw it away, but it was slightly larger than this one. And all in between it was a few centimeters of something, either books or some papers, etc., just to protect the telescope. But it's quite heavy because without all this inside, it's already 11 kilograms. So all that you see here, 11 kilograms. So logistics. Logistics is the following. There is a direct flight from Brussels to La Palma, straight direct, 4 hours, and it's allowed to take either 25 or 30 kilograms in checked-in luggage. You need to pay extra for 30, and it's a direct flight. Alternatively, from La Palma, it's best to go to Gran Canaria, and from Gran Canaria to Brussels. Tenerife is not a good option because there are 2 airports in Tenerife, and all the flights from Europe, they arrive to here typically, apart from Spain, but from Belgium it's arrived to the north. But to fly to La Palma, you need to go from the north, so from south to the north. Complicated. The ferry is not a good option also because you need to go from airport to the ferry, then here and here. So in Canary Islands, there are 2 airlines, both allowing to take 30 kilograms. So that's also working for me. The neighbors. Actually, this is this helicopter view photo. This is the tree that you saw. This is the house. This is from paragliding. I didn't do the paragliding, I just found it. It's a video actually. Somebody's just flowing out of these directions because this area is also good for paragliding. But in this area, it's famous for some of astronomy sports. So in particular, here, just at elevation also 1,400, there is a Pantacas remote observatory. So this observatory is literally in the construction phase now. They will have telescopes from 40 to 1 meter, 40 centimeters to 1 meter telescopes, all remote, and there will be a few kind of telescopes packed together in the observatory pavilion. So when they're constructed there's a weather station available in the internet, and you could check any day and time what is the temperature and what is humidity there, etc. But the telescopes they're installing, they're building this, etc. They are using these telescopes for capturing the, satellites of our galaxy. So the small draft galaxies in our system, in the local system of galaxies. That's why they take a wide field photos and they send it to the scientists. So this observatory has like a good pro-am cooperation when there's as a major they contribute to the science. Astrostructure Astronomica is located in the village, close to the village. This is the place where you could rent the telescopes, they rent equipment, rent some equipment for the astrophotos. If you don't want to bring your telescope, you could take it from there. I heard the quality is not very good of all the telescopes, but maybe they have a very good equipment. But they are very good. Scout I don't know about them, but they exist in this area as well. And surprisingly, at the same time, there was a few visitors. So this person visited the island. He lived also, apparently he lived also in this house. And he lived, I think, a few days here, and then he lived in another house on the north. And he has his own website, which is dedicated to comments, etc. Maybe you know this guy. This guy is the astrophotographer. He also there was, he's from Germany. Damian Peach was there some time ago. There are articles that he explained there, but maybe he will be the next one. Okay, that's it for that.